is who I am.
The one continual action scene when they were in that neighborhood and he like went in and pulled that guy out that they did all in one shot. It's like one of the greatest scenes in television history.
Man, that was a good show.
Did you watch Stranger Things? I know I just skipped completely the whole second season.
Yeah.
Did you like it better than the first?
No, I like the first better, but I liked it.
See, I like the second.
I don't think the second one ruined the first one, which is what he was concerned about.
The first
I thought it was going to ruin it too.
Yeah.
But the first one was a surprise. Like, I had no idea. People just kept talking about something, but then the second one I went in with expectations, so they couldn't have been met, I think.
I thought the storyline was way better though. To me, I don't know. I was thinking it was going to go like really deep in sci-fi, and I'm not a fan of that. So then keeping it like
was this more realistic?
Yeah. I mean,
interdimensional monsters. I can believe that. Just don't go all Star Wars on me.
Just stay on Earth.
Exactly.
All right.
Oh, you're filming. Chris wanted to hear our thoughts about the announcement from Castro that there are 4 people on a team now and they combine regions. We don't really have anything pre-planned to talk about, and Chris just kind of wanted to see what our thoughts came out as and what we thought about it. I didn't know if it would be a content piece or not, so because of that, I'll let these guys share their thoughts first. That's why I called it a think tank. I don't think that any individual person can be all or know all things. So bringing a bunch of people that I believe in together to all try to contribute to the same problem, I think is going to create a better long-term strategy for success in sport, business, and life.
Away from Max. He has his invisible friend here.
I do. I have to put it here somewhere.
I was trying to figure out what you're doing.
My elbow needs support.
Thoughts?
Yeah, no, I think like most announcements that we hear from CrossFit, it's something that we basically just have to accept. Like a long time ago when they changed the regional format from like 60 individuals to 48 to 20, like I would get so caught up, like because I was still competing then, like I would just get so caught up in my own thoughts of, oh, this isn't fair, like what's he doing to the sport? He's ruining the sport. It's gonna like completely disenchant the franchise base and the affiliates and everything else. Now I think my own emotional response to these situations and these announcements is more of one of, okay, how can we make this work to our favor? Yeah. Like how can we be a little bit more even keel about how we react to this, and how do we set our athletes' expectations as a result of that? So that was like, I heard it and I was like, okay, let's think about how we can make this work. How's this going to impact what we've been doing here and what we've been building for the season so far?
Yeah, as a fan of the sport, I liked it a lot.
Yeah, it's got potential.
It has a lot of potential to be more competitive, and athletes have to be more well-rounded. As a coach, I had mixed feelings because, and I actually was talking to Max about this the other day, I had a couple people that actually got asked to be on teams. Yep. And you know, when you have 6 people, and you're the 6th person or the 3rd guy or the 3rd female, when it changes to 4, all of a sudden you're the one that's left out. So for them, I kind of hurt because, you know, they had a plan and we came up with new templates for their design, and, you know, we had this goal in mind, and that kind of got all shook up. But at the same time, I also have people now that have a chance to be on a really competitive team, and, you know, so that is exciting too, to see like what it's going to look like this year, and then what it will change as kind of the years evolve the sport, you know, moving forward. So I'm excited for it. I think it'll be pretty cool.
Yeah. What do you think, Max?
I thought I could get away with not being in the content piece. Well, my first thoughts were about team selection and what that meant for the structure of workouts in general. It was something I actually thought could potentially happen because I thought it would lower Reebok's cost for having to outfit people at the games, and I thought it just from a viewer standpoint, the invitation was 4 people on a team, so it makes sense like structuring workouts, figuring out creative ways to have like partner pairings is a lot easier than if you have 6 people. And I know when I was watching at regionals last year, 6 people really impacted my ability to watch. So it's something I had been thinking about on site because I recruited people to come here and I didn't want to set teams. So I thought, okay, well, how does this change the team dynamic? And I think the biggest thing that it does is it changes when you take from 6 people down to 4, it makes what skill sets are required for a team of 6, it makes it more individual, the smaller number of athletes that are on a team. So with 4 athletes, you can't really hide a weakness. If in the past you had a gymnastics specialist and a strength specialist on the same team, that actually ended up being a really good thing, because in the workouts that favored gymnastics, if it were waterfall style or if one partner did a lot more gymnastics, you could take that person who has a strength, put them in that specific workout and let them shine. In this new format, that's going to most likely, and it depends on how they structure the workouts, that will get exposed a lot more, because if somebody's a gymnastics specialist and the other person is strong, and then the workout structure is male-male partner or female-female partner, and it's a synchronized gymnastics workout, the gymnastics specialist is only allowed to go as fast as the strength athlete. So it makes the team selection and the chemistry selection a much more important part of the game, and made me think like, okay, well, if I have a really powerful athlete, I might actually want to pair them with another powerful athlete, so that on the strength stuff, they're taking 1s, 2s, and 3s on the leaderboard. And on the gymnastics stuff, instead of taking, you know, a 15th, they're taking a 20th, but the point differential there is offset by a 1 or a 2. So it makes sense to pair from a chemistry perspective the most well-rounded, and then pairing other people to their specialties if we're going to have multiple teams. So my thought process was all around the people that we have here for our team. And I don't want to like talk about them personally and their strengths and their weaknesses, but those were my thoughts. When it came out, I was kind of like Adam, where, you know, it's like setting rules in a game, like in a pickup basketball game. Like you have, you know, 3-on-3, you show up and it's like, oh, we're playing half court today, like winner take, like you just kind of make the rules up as you go, and you just play the game however the rules are laid. It's just that process of like play is now controlled by Dave Castro. So he sets the rules and I'm like, all right, cool. Like that's how the game's played, and let's play and try to win. But nothing really changed from my vantage point. I wasn't watching like, oh my God, like I think had we recruited 6 individual people and promised them spots on the team, I might have been like, oh, this fucking sucks. Now I gotta like kick somebody off the team. But we purposefully didn't do that. So I felt like, okay, well, we covered our bases waiting for Dave Castro to set the rules. The rules came out and I was like, all right, well, cool. Like this is how we play, and let's figure out how to win now in those scenarios, or figure out how to try to win.
Yeah, it's interesting to think about though, because if you're recruiting for a team of 6, like a successful team of 6 in the past format might not necessarily be able to comprise a successful team of 4 in the new new format.
Yeah.
Like a good group of 6 last year, whether they're winning at the games or being able to advance from regional to the games, you can take that same pool of people and they might not be able to put together a good like competitive team of 4, which is just weird to think about, especially as we went through that process of thinking about how to structure our on-site.
Yeah. I think that it's actually going to change the leaderboard. Like we're going to see teams that we haven't heard of before, or the teams that we have kind of start dropping down the leaderboard because of now the team dynamic being every individual, like Max said, has to be more well-rounded, right? Like you can't have these big glaring weaknesses, and if you do, you are going to take 25th out of 30 teams instead of maybe 18th because you have a gymnastics specialist or a strength guy or whatever it may be. I think it's going to be fun for us as coaches, especially with the people on site now. Like who are we going to pick to put into places? And I know you don't want to go into that, but and then even for my personal clients that are on teams, you know, I've had 3 or 4 conversations over the past week with team athletes about, well, we have these members and I don't know how we're going to structure it. And so one of the things that I've been doing is kind of giving them feedback on, well, I think you probably fit well with this type of person. So, you know, if they have the 6 people that they normally had and the 2 alternates, now they're going to make this 2 4-person teams at their gym, and helping them kind of go through that process of like, these 2 females work well together, these 2 males work together, this male and female work well together, has kind of been fun for me. It does change the rules, and it is like a pickup game, but at the same time, like that's what makes pickup games fun, is you get to kind of go, you know, on the edge of your seat and say, okay, this is what we're going to do now. And so I think it's going to make it more fun for us to be able to kind of help guide the types of athletes. And I also think one of the things that this will do is help individuals that are getting older in the sport transition out into teams, right? Now you're not one of 6, you're one of 4. And for those that want to still be an individual and want like more load on them, I hear a lot of people all the time say, I want it on my shoulders. I was just talking to an athlete the other day and they said, well, I still want to be an individual because I want it on my shoulders. Well, in a team of 4, it's still a lot on your shoulders there, right? As opposed to a team of 6. So I think that you're going to see more individuals transition into that over the next couple of years as opposed to what we've seen in the past. Yeah.
From a workout selection standpoint, in the past, the idea of at a regional, each individual member of a team having to do a workout was a little bit harder to coordinate. Either two partners were going together and they moved on when those partners were done, or it's just very difficult at like a 10-minute workout for 6 people or an 8-minute workout for 6 people is like a 48-minute to an hour long event, which logistically can't happen. But now it could be 4 people individually doing a 6-minute workout, like one after the other, which from a visual standpoint would be really awesome to watch, because you could see like, okay, the 3 people that haven't gone are like at the front end of the lane. The one person is doing the first workout in the first quarter of the lane. The next person's doing it in the next quarter, and it would be easy to watch. And then you only have to view 10 people on the court. So it can actually be like individual style workouts, team synchro style. Like I feel like it makes from an options standpoint, it opens up a lot of things that didn't get exposed in the past. And the last thing, because I know a lot of coaches asked me, like, what does this do for my team selection? Like, what should I be thinking about? The nature of the Open might change also. I know they didn't really go into detail on that, but if your scores in the Open is just your 4 athletes, or like your 4 athletes and 1 alternate, that could change how a lot of teams got in the past by having, like, maybe they open an affiliate cup that's just like, hey, a CrossFit affiliate can put all their teams in, and like there's an affiliate cup winner in the Open, but the team thing becomes something entirely different, where it's like, no, now it's like you 4 individually have to qualify through the Open the same way that like individuals qualify for regionals. That would change a lot of teams, because there's people at regionals that I saw on teams that were like really good at a skill, but you could tell they couldn't breathe, or they had huge glaring weaknesses that might get exposed on one workout, but they'd probably almost with certainty they got exposed in the Open, which probably didn't matter because somebody else's score could have been
the roster was so big that they could make up for it.
So
I feel like they would never do that just because they want to be able to say, look how many people did the Open.
Yeah, but if the affiliate cup might be able to solve that, right? Like if they just said the best affiliate, like those, then they're still going to have 100 signups per gym. And I mean, look, I don't know, I can't predict, and I don't want to be like, oh, I understand how
this is how it's gonna be.
I'm just telling people to be careful of us making assumptions before you have the rules. Like right now, the only rules that we have are 4 people on a team. We don't know how they qualify. We don't know like what that means from a structure standpoint at regionals. But for me, it's almost like the team game has literally become a new sport from last year. And the same thing happened when they went to super regionals. I told everyone of my individual athletes, like, there's no fucking around now. You're not showing up to regionals with like 3 or 4 good guys. You're showing up with 12 people in every region that could potentially take the spots, except for in the weak regions. And so every time they make a change like this, you got to be ready for the intensity of competition to go up a lot. And I think that'll happen in the teams this year. I'm sure that there will be people that were individuals that were like one-time games athletes, or that know they can't make it back but still want to be in the spotlight and still want to give their sponsor stuff, that recruit other people that are at that level. And it's really easy to recruit 3 other people. It's a lot harder to recruit 5 people because of logistic organization. So I think it could really change the dynamic of the whole team structure.
I think the quality of the individual athletes that you're going to see is going to increase. I think, like you said, the action from a spectator standpoint is going to be easier to digest. You can follow what's going on out there a lot clearer now because there's just less bodies on the floor. The stations are easier to delineate between. And I think the intensity of the workouts, like, they're going to get more exciting in general. It's just, I think for me, it's a lot of good things.
And just to kind of go on the note that you were speaking about, it may only be those 4, which does in the Open, which does mean that you can't make a mistake in the Open, right? Like in the past, a lot of these teams, you see like someone that gets a terrible score, but then someone that may be at their affiliate, they plug that score in, and then okay, we're fine, we're still in the top 10 or whatever. Now, if it is those 4, then you do have to prep for the Open and make sure that you're ready, or make sure that at least everyone's well-rounded for whatever comes out in the Open. Or that structure may change too, like the workouts that we see there. So.
That, you had something to say?
Do you think that we would have to give thought to the actual like anthropometrics of the athletes that make up the team, given that we might see more synchro work with this format? Like, do we have to make sure that there's not huge height discrepancies between athletes, that when they do like partner deadlifts or when they do the worm work, like now there's going to be a lot less ability to be able to hold a steady
like
line
gradually,
so now if you've got somebody who's got a big height discrepancy, it all of a sudden becomes this guy's taking a lot more of the burden than somebody else who's shorter.
To me, those issues will come out retroactively. Like we could think about them ahead of time, but planning for them, like it would almost be other than just exposing, if the team is like, a 5'3" guy and a 5'11" guy and a 5'9" girl and a 5'2" girl, exposing them to worm stuff and figuring out what the optimal 4-person lineup is and practicing and making sure that we expose them. But I feel like trying to think of all the variables ahead of time, I don't know, maybe I just got to a stage in coaching this that I'm like, okay, well, look, let's reduce what we need people to be. We need people to be good at all the skills that are tested in CrossFit, all the energy systems, have movement variability, have strength development in all the capacities, and have the best state of instantaneous readiness. Because if we can get people to that state, then no matter what comes out, they can feel ready quicker, which is a combination of physical training and also psychological training and exposing people to changing whatever the rules are and what are the standards of this movement. Like, okay, well, I'm changing it today. Well, that's not how we normally do it. It's like, well, you're going to pause for 2 seconds overhead today on every rep just because I want to be an asshole and make you exposed to chaotic variables. And
then when you're at regionals and you get a judge who's calling you for not locking out, you're used to feeling what it feels like to actually hold that position until he says good rep.
So I think that to me is like, I don't know, it's been like my comfort blanket with regards to protecting me against whatever Castro says, because I want to plan, I want to be analytic, I want to have some sort of answer to tell people if, they think I'm an expert, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing, but and you can't say like, well, do this, because we don't really know what's coming out. But
we can't get ahead of ourselves.
I know if I do that, and I do it more effectively than other athletes. And in this case, now I put 4 people together and I teach them how to do that as a unit. They'll be a better team than they were before, no matter what comes out. So, that is really the fundamental nature of how I'm thinking about training. No matter what Castro says the results are. Like, I had thought before people should be good at individual workouts. They should be good at short, high power intervals, which in a team format is one person goes, the next person goes. Like, it is an interval workout, which people in the past were like, oh, don't do intervals in CrossFit. I'm like, well, now intervals are tested. At the individual stage, it was with like the skier broke climb. At the team stage with rest recovery. So basically what we're seeing now is like, they're testing the way that they speak philosophically. They want you to be ready for absolutely everything, change, chaos. So we just prepare for it and, I don't know, almost ignore anything that comes out or reconcile it immediately. Like when it comes out, be like, okay, well, I'm not going to think about it or be emotional about it. I'm just going to be like, well, okay, like life changed like it does in our normal lives too. Like, you know, you get sick and the plan you had to do your training is like, well, I can't do that today because I'm throwing up. So I'm just going to deal with it now. So
I'd be interested in knowing, just you guys to answer 2 questions because it's something I've been thinking about. The first is, how important will the team dynamic, so being able to communicate and do synchro work and all that, be this upcoming year? You know, one of the things that the training think tank team did so well was communicate with each other and know exactly who's going with who on synchro work, and they did that better than probably anybody at the region in the South or in the Atlantic region, just watching them, and that's one of the reasons why they finished 6th. And then the other thing is, what will the best team look like as far as the individuals go? Like, what do you think those individuals will look like as opposed to in years past, like you said, where there were specialists?
Yeah, I mean, I think the team cooperation aspect is probably going to be, I mean, not necessarily offset, but I think the talent is going to take probably a higher proportion of somebody's finishing place now, just based off of where we're at. I think the intensity of the workouts, the nature of the workouts, what you're going to see, you're going to need to have some really good quality athletes on there, and you can't just expect teamwork to elevate you to the next level.
Like it has in the past. Would you agree
that
so in the past it has?
I completely agree. Like, that's part of the reason that we did so well last year, is because we hammered down every single thing that we could control, and then they were able to express their capacity inside of those workouts. I mean, that was my standpoint on like how they did so well last year. Yeah. Now, like I said, I don't think a team of 6 that did well last year will necessarily be a team of 4 that can do well this year.
Yeah, I mean, I think teamwork's always important. I just the team the things that comprise good teamwork now are probably just a little bit different. And I'd probably have to watch the sport play out.
Yeah.
I mean, now I can do it here because we can have multiple teams and I can set them up and watch what happens when you have 4 people doing team workouts. I'm assuming the communication has to happen more quickly. So it needs to become nonverbal, or it needs to become like, because you're going to be operating most likely at a higher intensity because you get less rest now. If 2 people are going in the past, or if groups of 2 are going in the past, you're at a 1-to-2 work to rest ratio. Now you're at a 1-to-1 work to rest ratio because you're going and then the next group is going and then you're right after them, supposedly, if you're switching from movement to movement. So the intensity and the fatigue levels are going to go up, which means that the speed of ability to communicate and be able to tell your partner, like, I blew up on that first part, so the plan that we had is fucking gone and I'm going 3s. You can't sit there and say that out loud because that might take 10 seconds. So you're going to have the ability to just, like, on the call, each member of the team go, okay, 3s. So, I mean, I don't know if that's going to be able to be developed in a 4-month period of time, but the people that do that train together, I think will be the best teams. And then to answer his other question, I think the best teams now are going to be 4 individual regional qualifying level athletes, and probably people that have games experience on a team, like on Froning's team, like Lindy Barber would qualify as an individual. Froning qualifies as an individual. They had Tasia Percevez, who was a games athlete. I think Matt Hewitt was an individual. I don't remember their other 2, but those 4, like, that's a team of people that all individually in the sport are individual, regional, or games level athletes all on one group together. So I think that is your model for, like, what are the best going to be like. I don't know if they'll win, but they'll definitely be up there with the competitive teams. So I think that's what it's going to look like. I mean, we had, like, last year, we had a bunch of people on our team that either, like, didn't finish the Open or finished below 100, and we still made regionals quite easily and finished 6th. I mean, maybe that will still be the case, but I can't imagine that will be the case. I think you're going to have some really, really good teams, and the appeal of team is going up too because individual is getting hard.
You had to figure that was their intent. Like, let's bring some excitement to the team side of things, and then as you see that, you're going to see a trickle down of higher quality athletes coming into the team side of things. So I would agree with you. I think we're looking at regional level athletes on an individual basis.
Yeah.
How do we know that this isn't just to sell new 4-man worms?
Yeah.
Everyone just bought their 6
They're going to switch it.
Just chop 2/6 of it off, right? You just cut a third of it off and you're good. You got a 4-man worm.
Not yet, no.
I mean, we didn't buy the 6
Oh, no, we didn't.
Oh, thank God.
He was waiting. Max is smart. He was waiting for it. Like, I know
I'm
they're
just
doing
cheap.
something.
I'm just cheap. Yeah. So if this video was bad, comment in the comments that Chris sucks.
Wait.
But if it's good,
No. That's not a fair question because I suck. So it can't be about the video.
yeah, I just thought that was a better conclusion than what I normally do, and just like, all right,
Inch out of the room, like back out.
walk
Don't make eye
backwards.
contact.